one of the biggest reasons I think that the needs have changed so much has to do with technology and with the way that our young people communicate with each other, and the way that our young people, the things they're watching and they're exposed to from early on and leading into adolescence. And, it's just presented a whole different set of needs that we weren't dealing with even 5 or 10 years ago. And 100%. So, there's a lot of like really positive things that come with the technology. And so I'm not knocking the advancement of technology at all. I think that it's amazing. However, I do think that the adults, and especially educators and parents really are a little behind the curve when it comes to some of the unintended consequences to some of the social media that's out there, and just the messages that our students are getting.
Welcome to the Koolers Lifestyle Podcast. I'm your host, Matt Kuehlhorn, and I'm excited to have you join me as I interview community members and business leaders from the communities in which I live, work, and serve through my business Kooler Garage Doors. We're going to bring you highlights on characters in our communities. Why? Because community matters, and I want to know more about who is behind our business and leadership in order to understand and support the community fabric that our relationships make up. And collectively, we can build stronger communities that support our lifestyles, our youth, and our health.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Koolers Lifestyle Podcast. I'm your host, Matt Kuehlhorn, and today we have Tracy Gallegos, who's the Director of the Equity and Inclusion for the D51 School District. Tracy, how you doing today?
I am great. How are you doing, Matt?
I'm doing really good. I do have to just give a shout out to the painting you have in the background. I think it's so cool, and it's loud and proud.
Thank you. It's a local artist. His name's Ben Boom. He's a jeweler and an artist, and he does a lot of really cool work with youth as well. So, a little shout out to Ben Boom.
Ben Boom, he was on one of the videos. So my wife reached out to you and kind of connected this conversation. Okay. And in one of the videos, just doing a little bit of my own homework, I believe Ben Boom was on there. Would that be?
Yeah. Yep. So he does very cool interviews with interesting people. And so
awesome.
He's he reminds me a little bit of yourself in that respect. And he's an interesting guy. He's just a good person to know. So.
Yeah, right on. I'll put him on my list and reach out. But for today, Tracy, I'd love to start. Where did you grow up?
Yeah, so I'm from Delta, Colorado. Born and raised in Delta, and I grew up there, and then I ended up leaving and going to college. And Greeley, and because it was the best education college I knew of and I was able to get into. And then I worked in the metro area for a while, and then I moved back to Delta when I started my family, and I've lived there ever since. And so I'm a Delta guy.
Right on. I love it. And you're in education and have a lot of passion around youth. Where is that coming from? Did that come from your own childhood? Is that so tie that in for us?
I would been inspired to become an educator from early on, and maybe it was out of spite a little bit, honestly, because where I grew up, I grew up with a group of young people that looked a lot like me and talked a lot like me. And we did not have the best experience during adolescence and into high school, really. And I just feel like it was a combination of being misunderstood and just being part of the lived experience that we grew up. We were a crew of people who knew each other from early on. And our parents hung out, and so we got to know each other like that. And then we got together and formed a really tight group. And we had a lot of lack of opportunity, a lot of misunderstanding about, maybe how to act the right way. And we also we didn't get a lot of encouragement from the educators and from the systems that were in place at the time in the 90s. And that kind of put a chip on my shoulder. And when I got to college, I decided that I really wanted to figure out a way to support youth like me and my friends. And I felt like the best way to do that was to get into education and become a teacher. So,
yeah, I love it. So for your work with equity and inclusion, what does your job entail? What's kind of a day-to-day?
Yeah. So it's a cool job. So I am lucky enough to work, I kind of have three kind of areas I focus in on. One is leadership and administration. And I work with the leaders of the school district to help figure out ways that we can adjust our system so that we can start meeting our students' needs. And I'm talking about our students who are students furthest from opportunity. Unfortunately, we have very predictable data, and it's been predictable for decades. But you can look and see, if you look at achievement, for example, you can see predictably some of our students and how they're doing. And you can see, most of our students are doing okay. And then there's a sizable group of students who are not doing okay, and they haven't been doing okay for a long time. And so I get to work with the leadership to help ask them tough questions and really think about our systems and think about some of what we're doing and how we're doing it. And then I get to really help them decide how to do things differently. And so it's really fun work. We look at making instructional decisions. We look at ways that we support our teachers and our principals and things that we can do differently to make sure that we're meeting needs of kids. I also get to really work closely with community and figure out ways to make sure that our community leaders and our experts who exist, especially experts for the population of students that I'm in charge of supporting, exist outside the walls of our buildings, make sure they get into our system and help us kind of partner with us to find solutions for our kids.
Yeah, I love it. What's your definition for the population that you work with closely?
So I would say they are students furthest from opportunity. And it's a variety of kids. We look specifically at our students of color. Our students of color they are not performing at the same rate as as the white students. We also look at students from marginalized populations. So our LGBTQ plus students, our students who are migratory, our students who are experiencing homelessness, and our students who are also in poverty.
Yeah. Yeah, real life there, real life issues.
Yeah.
Amazing. And you mentioned like focusing in on systems, and some of the discrimination, if you will, is more systemic, right? Like not necessarily an individual's bias, and there's certainly that, but there's a lot of systems that are in place, and while they may have came from great intentions, like maybe they're outdated or they're just old school, right? So I get how that in and of itself is incredibly important, and that would present its own challenges in an institution.
Yeah, absolutely. So, traditional education has a lot of systems and structures that were never designed to meet the needs of today's youth. and especially the diverse needs of today's diverse youth. And so, there's a lot of things that we do as educators, and we do it because that's how they've always been done. Sometimes we do it because that's how we were taught we should do it.
Right.
And sometimes there's some power structures where we do it because we have to do it, because that's what the people that are in charge of our systems tell us we have to do. And so there's always some, it's an interesting landscape to navigate, especially when your goal is transformational and doing things differently. But I'll tell you, and just in the past, 4 or 5 years, the needs of today's youth have changed. They've changed a lot, and they've changed for a variety of reasons. But most of our systems right now in public education are trying to catch up to the needs of the students. And it's kind of a scary time. It's a critical time for us to be having these conversations and for us to really be thinking outside of the box to find solutions.
No joke. Are these shifts in needs? I mean, there's been a big shift since COVID alone, right? Like that was not insignificant by any means. And, for Western Slope, Colorado, we're seeing a shift in population. It seems like there's more people coming in than necessarily moving out. But where would you start pinpointing some of those need changes? Is it population and there's just more people looking for services? Is it technology? I'd imagine it's a combination, but where would you point?
Yeah. So, I think both of those are very important points. I think that today's youth, maybe one of the biggest reasons I think that the needs have changed so much has to do with technology and with the way that our young people communicate with each other, and the way that our young people, the things they're watching and they're exposed to from early on and leading into adolescence. And, it's just presented a whole different set of needs that we weren't dealing with even 5 or 10 years ago. And 100%. So, there's a lot of like really positive things that come with the technology. And so I'm not knocking the advancement of technology at all. I think that it's amazing. However, I do think that the adults, and especially, educators and parents really are a little behind the curve when it comes to some of the unintended consequences to some of the social media that's out there, and just the messages that our students are getting. Also, I really think that our students are dependent upon some of the relationships they form virtually, and that makes in-person relationships different. And we haven't figured out as a system how to support that need right now, and it's we're a little behind the curve when it comes to that. And so I think technology is a huge issue that we have to figure out solutions for. I also think that, just the pandemic itself and the trauma that our students experienced as a result of the pandemic. I've looked at a lot of data. That's a big part of how I help our district figure out how to prioritize what we do. And, the data is very telling. But what I've seen is, students furthest from opportunity also experienced the majority of the trauma as a result of the pandemic, and a lot of, loss of life, loved ones, put in positions where they were needed to move, or, change their family structures and things like that. They've really, really, it's been tough on our youth.
I've seen snippets of that research. Do you, in D51, do you rely on Healthy Kids surveys, and is that part of the research piece that you pull from, or is that?
So we do. So we have a couple of tools we use. The Healthy Kids Colorado survey is a tool we participate in that, and that is a survey that it's optional, and so we get some data. We also use a couple of other surveys that really help us get data to help us judge, how kids are feeling.
Yeah.
And we set goals around that data, and it really does help us prioritize effort, resources, professional learning opportunities. And, we're making some movement in the right direction since we've been doing that, but we have a long ways to go. Especially in the area of student belonging and making sure that all of our kids feel like they really are part of our community and they belong, and that the adults that are teaching them understand them. And what we know is that, especially for students who have a hard time learning, they really need to be able to take risks. And if you don't trust the adults that are working with you, you're going to be less willing to take that risk and go out there and put all your effort into the learning. And so it's really important that we're able to figure out how to build strong trust with our students, and that our students feel like the adults that are working with them really care about them.
Oh, sure. Oh man, amazing. Is your role within D51, is that a new role, or has that been around for a while?
It is new-ish. So the position has existed in some form for many years, and it's it's gone through different it's gone through different titles, and so I guess long story short, it existed for quite a while. It went away for a while, and now it's back, and so this is like year 2.
Yeah. What a critical role to play in people's lives. I've got a loaded question for you, but I just want to touch base on the technology piece again. When I was in my past life into education, and I would get into the schools, and I was never a traditional educator in the sense that I loved experiential education. I loved getting youth out into the woods and rock climbing and learn some life skills in that environment, and then be able to bring them into other realms of life. But with technology, I used to give presentations to parents and kids, and I would just reference the cell phone like a chainsaw. I was like, this is a chainsaw. It's super useful, but I always wanted to bring a live chainsaw up onto the stage and fire it up and be like, would you hand this off to your kid without instruction? It's moving so fast. I'm a parent. I've got a daughter in 8th grade and my son's in 5th grade. And you talk about those virtual relationships, like that's very real. Like there's real emotional bonds in a kid that occurs between these relationships. And as a parent, I'm like, is this person even real? Like, there's so many pieces. I don't know how we keep up. That's one of the challenges, right?
It's critical. You really hit the nail on the head there, Matt. It doesn't seem real to adults, right? Even adults at our age, it's like, how can that be real? But it's very real to our youth. And that's something that we have to do as adults, is recognize that, they view the world through a different lens. And, we need to catch up. We owe it to our students to catch up, and get with the times, and really figure out, how to provide the best guidance and instruction when it comes to technology. because, there's a lot of positives that come with technology, but there are a lot of potential dangerous situations when it comes to youth and unstructured and technology. And I honestly think, especially with, I've spent a lot of time kind of honing in on needs of students and families who speak languages other than English. And what I've seen, especially with technology, is there's a power dynamic, especially if let's say for example, a parent does not speak English, but their children do.
Right.
And then just the power of that child being able to communicate in the dominant language, and the amount of responsibility that child takes on to support the family, to support the parent, and then you add the technology into it, it can really get into a sticky situation quickly. And best intentions by all people, and students will, young people kind of do, I think they do their best doing what they think they're supposed to do. And sometimes the influences come from all over the place, and that makes it a really unclear pathway for the young person.
Yeah. All right, here's the loaded question.
Okay.
So what is the cost to not paying attention, to not collaborating, to not creating that safety that youth need to facilitate learning? What are we missing in not doing that?
Well, I guess my personal opinion is that it's huge, right? And what we see is a lot of struggle with our young people right now. When we look at data, we look at the need for mental health support for young people. Those numbers have grown a lot in the last few years, and the problem is that even the funding structures that exist in our public schools they make it difficult to meet those kind of needs. And this is a Western Colorado show, right? And so in Western Colorado, we don't have a lot of money in comparison with some of the other districts like on the Front Range. And so the way that we allocate the resources that we have, school districts, even the size of District 51, which is the largest district between Salt Lake City and Denver, we don't have a ton of money to help alone. We really do need community support, and we really do need parents willing to make time in their busy lives to understand responsibilities and to really give input to make sure that we are creating the type of guidance that the kids need in order to figure this out. This is a messy, really unknown territory that we're chartering with our young people, and they're the ones that are like in the ship,
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I look at that cost. I think it's significant as well. It's, it's the human spirit. It's our future leaders. It's the collaborators and the innovators that will take on and address the next set of challenges. It's just like tamping down possibility and potential. And so the work's super important. What are you excited for as you look over the next couple of years?
Yeah, I'm excited for a lot of things. One of the challenges we have in public education is our workforce situation. And, we have the teaching profession is so important, and we are not doing a great job currently attracting the talent we need, retaining the talent we have. And so, that's a big ask, but I do think that, we have a potential to really bring on the workforce that we need to meet this challenge. Some of it is we need some help with our community to get the message out that, hey, this is a worthy occupation. This is a worthy career path that is critical, and it's just as important as any other industry out there, because it's all about our youth and developing our youth.
Yeah.
So we need some help with that messaging, because right now, politically, or even just if you look at media, educators get pretty beat up, and nobody benefits from that, right? So we do need to kind of flip the script. One of the things that I'm really passionate about, there's an organization called the Colorado Association of Latino Administrators and Superintendents. We call it Koolers. And I'm the chair of that organization this year. And our mission is to really help make sure that we are diversifying the leadership within the school districts of Colorado, and finding and developing leadership within our educators, and specifically our educators who understand and are able to be great role models for our Latinx or Latinx student population. And so I think there's a lot of potential there. We have a mission to get some statewide recognition and really start partnering with school districts to make sure that we're bringing some good talent that way, and our organization is growing. And I do think there are a lot of very passionate people who are understanding the need to get into the profession and really become leaders, and make sure that they are, ready to lead the changes that we need to make. It's actually really exciting because, as we've talked about, we really have to start going in a different direction. We have to start reimagining how we're teaching our kids, and that's fun work. And so I'm hoping that we can continue to work with our partners and really get that message out there and generate some excitement. It also would help if we could figure out how to pay our educators what they're worth. That's a problem.
Yeah, that all adds into it. So I could talk about education and youth for a long time, Tracy, and we'll start summing up this conversation for now, and we'll follow up. But I'm hearing the excitement is around the collaboration, and it's around the shift and the change, which is also part of the challenge. But I think in every challenge, there's also that opportunity. Funding's critical. Just kind of ramping up the juice behind transformational work, which is education and teaching. Like it's significant in a human's life. Where do you see opportunities? Like, how might businesses and community leaders work together even more for the greater good?
Yeah. So one of the things that I would offer is that many districts, including District 51 and other districts here on the Western Slope, most districts actually have what we call a strategic plan.
Yes.
And it's something that we develop with community input. But a lot of the strategic plans that are being developed nowadays, and District 51 is in their first year of implementing the strategic plan that we've developed recently. But many of them have a focus point for community partnership. And so, the leaders of the districts really need to be going out and finding the community partners that they need to help meet the needs of the kids. But also, our community partners should feel obligated, I feel, to reach out to district leaders and say, hey, I want to support our youth. Here's something I can do. Maybe it's a financial support. School district can use money, Maybe there's something that they are able to do that they can invite some youth to come in and learn about workforce development type opportunity.
Yeah, sure.
Those are really big needs for our kids right now. So I do think that the partnership opportunity is there, and I'm seeing it become more solidified within strategic plans throughout the state. And so that's a recommendation I would have for community members is like, get a hold of that superintendent. You know, all superintendents have a way for the community to interact with them and communicate with them and say, hey, what can I do? Also, I would just say that it's critical to make sure that our youth are involved in these discussions, because what I think is that our youth understand their needs probably better than our adults do, and our adults seem to be able to listen and figure out how to really empower youth to find solutions for themselves and for their peers, because our youth understand what our youth are going through.
Yeah, heard. If somebody's listening right now and wants to be that individual to get involved, we'll throw in the D51 school district email and maybe even point to the superintendent. Is that the best route for communication? And
so honestly, engaged? If it's a D51 person, they can contact me. I am in charge of implementing our community partnership.
Awesome.
And our family connection component of our strategic plan. And so, I'd be a great person to start with. If, they can always get a hold of the superintendent, but I bet you would probably get forwarded to me pretty quickly. But
we'll put your school district email if that's the best one in the show notes.
You bet. And awesome. Then, also, there's different levels. So there's that district level, but there's also that school level. And so, getting a hold of a principal, especially if you have maybe one of your children or go to a school and you say, hey, I would love to help out, and make sure that while my kids are attending this school, I'd love to figure out ways that I could support and help create that safe place or help support the goals of the school. So that school level participation is would be really helpful too. I've never, I was a building administrator for 9 years here in our district, and I've never been disappointed when a parent said, hey, I want to help somehow. What can I do? It was always like, all right, that's what we need. We need more of that, right?
Yeah, we'll get you something. I get that. I hear that. I'll take my own actions. That's inspiring. And Tracy, I really appreciate the story. I appreciate the dedication. I think that youth are better off because you're in that position and championing them. And I just really, really appreciate not to get sappy, but it's the love, it's the dedication, it's the rallying, it's all the pieces. So thank you for your time today. Thank you for the work that you do, my friend.
Well, thank you for putting this podcast together. I think it's so cool to highlight, people in the community who have passion. And so I've been able to watch a few of them. They've been great. It's this type of stuff that we need to do collectively as a community to improve our world, right? And so I appreciate you taking that part, and thank you for your interest. I would love to talk any other time you have, then and with whoever.
Sounds good, Tracy.
I encourage people to reach out, even if they want to give me some advice or whatever that they think that D51's doing things not in the right way when it comes to focusing in on the students we're trying to figure out how to serve. I'm always open to recommendation.
Awesome. Well, I have a feeling that we will talk again very soon.
All right.
Enjoy the day.
Thank you.